Yesterday we learned that there's a chiddush that we learned from Zraya B'Sheva, either that Isser is bottled b'shishim or Isser is bottled b'meya. But the Brayta that discusses, Zraya B'Sheva says, Zehu heter haba machlal Isser. There's a unique heter that only applies to Zraya B'Sheva. It doesn't apply anywhere else. And the Gemara was medayik at first. That means you can't use this to teach us anything about Isser Heter. So the Gemara proposed different options of how to understand this clause of Zeh Heter Haba Mechal Isser. So the last pshat we learned was from Rava, which is 2 lines from the bottom, Samach Chesamay Beis. Rava Amar, Oy Mitzvah Ella L'Tam Keker. The chiddush is that although by all providers, even a mashu of tam is going to be also it's keker, the kachim also kamash malon the hakashari, but by Zraya B'Sheva tam keker will be mutter, and as long as you can be mevatlet may or b'shishim, it will be mutter to eat. So the Rashi learns that tam keker, according to Rava, is only midaraisa by kachim, and the exception is by the Zraya B'Sheva, you don't say tam keker. Let's turn over to today's daf. If you see often giloy by Zraya B'Sheva that you don't say tam keker by Zraya B'Sheva, why don't we use that to teach us that by all kosher you don't say tam keker? After the Gemara, Goli Rechmon Gabe Chatos. Chatos, the Torah told us that tam is keker, because the Torah says by Chatos, Kol Asher Yika B'Psarai. Anything that touches the meat of a Chatos takes on the same kedusha of the Chatos, even though there's only tam and there's no ikr. Liyos Kamoy. If the chatos happens to be possible, that touches, let's say, a shlomim, the shlomim will be possible. In kshera, toichal kechamer shalom. So a chatos you can only eat today and tonight. If meat of a shlomim touches meat of a chatos, although normally a shlomim could also be eaten tomorrow, vivat, this meat of the shlomim came into contact with the meat of the chatos, it could only be eaten like a chatos, which is today and tonight, and that's because there's tam there, and tam is kefer. Zoktimar, we have a makar of Zraya B'Sheva to tell you tam is not kefer. We have a makar by chatos to tell you tam is kefer. My chazos that Erwin Mehev, who said to learn from chatos that tam kefer is their raisa, like koshin, ligmar may happen. Why don't you learn fakert from Zraya B'Sheva? Tam is not keker. Zok Gemara because chidushu. The whole concept of Zraya B'Sheva is a chiddush, like we said, that you could be mevatel Isser l'chatchila. My chiddush like Gemina. Correct Gemara, the same question we asked last time we offered this there. It's yachi l'meya b'shishim nami loy ligmar. Oy b'zoy, if you can't learn from Zraya B'Sheva because it's a chiddush, how could you learn the halacha of meya shishim from it? We're not trying to learn a kula from Zraya B'Sheva. We're learning a chomer from Zraya B'Sheva. That you could do, because even though Zraya B'Sheva has a chiddush lekula, you could say if Zraya B'Sheva with a chiddush lekula requires shisha per meya, surely you could apply that to regular Isser Heter. Midiraisa berupa bottle. Midiraisa by all Yisurim, it's bottle b'roiv. Therefore, the Zraya B'Sheva is begal that roiv is not enough. You need shishim or meya. Ravina had another pshat in what the Brisa means when it says Zui Heter Haba Mechlal. Ravina says according to the shita that the Zraya B'Sheva is cooked connected to the carbon shlomim, so after it's cooked, you're going to cut it. You have to peel off an additional layer from the animal because it absorbed tam from the Zray B'Shela. So the halacha is the Omar Mokom Chatach Ba'alma Assur. Normally, the Mokom Chatach itself would be Assur, but for Chacha, Shari, by Zray B'Shela. Okay, so now we have all the different shatim. So we have a makar for Sarab Shmuel Bar Yitzchak and Sarab Chibar Abba as to whether or not you need shishim to be mevatel iser, or whether it's enough, or whether you need 100 to be mevatel iser. So talk to Gemara. Yosy Rav Dimi v'Kamar lo Hashmaitza. He was saying over this halacha of Shmuel Bar Yitzchak that you need meya to be mevatel. Amalei Abaye v'Chol Yisurin Shematar b'meya. So according to Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, any Isser in the Torah needs 100 to be mevatel. But now I'm going to show you from a Mishnah that it should not need 100. What does it say? Lama Omru. Lama Omru. Lagabi, what did they say? Kolam Chametz. If you use some sa'or of truma to be mechametz, the dough of chulin, or ubetabel, if we use the spices of truma to flavor up the bishul or tafshil of chulin, or medama, you mixed in truma with chulin, lahachmir, it would go lahachmir. When are you machmir? By min b'min. The Gemara is going to elaborate what this means. Even the Mishnah will elaborate. When do you say there's sometimes a makom to be mekel and sometimes a makom to be machmir? That's by min v'sha'inamin. The Katani Sefer and the Sefer of this Mishnah elaborates. L'hakulu l'hachmir min b'sha'inamin. Ketzad. How does it work out that by min b'sha'inamin there's sometimes a cool and sometimes a cool? Ketzad. Grisen senespashal imhu adoshim. You had grisen that were of truma that were cooked with adoshim of chulin. Min b'she'einai. Now, of course, you're able to take the actual grisen of truma out. Now you're only left with the tam. Im yesh bahem b'noisen tam. If there's a noticeable taste in the adoshim of the grisen that were truma, then bein yesh bahen lahalos b'mei v'echad, bein ein bahen lahalos b'mei v'echad. Whether or not you have 101 connected it, it's going to be awesome because the taste is there. But ein bahen b'noisen tam, if there's no taste left of the grisen in the adoshim, then bein sheyesh bahen lahalos b'mei v'echad, bein ein bahen lahalos b'mei v'echad mutter. If there's no time, you don't need me'ah v'echad. By min b'she'einai. Now, how much do you need? Ein v'hen lahalis b'me'ah v'echad, ela b'mai, lav b'shishim. So you clearly see from this Mishnah that when you have min b'she'einai, you don't need 100 to be mevatel. You only need shishim to be mevatel. Now, how could you, Shmuel Bar Yitzchak, say that we learned from Zray B'Shela l'chol Torah kula, you need 100 to be mevatel? Clearly, this Mishnah seems to indicate that if it's min b'she'einai mina, it's batel b'shishim, and you don't need male. That's the Gemara's question. And for the Gemara, turning on to the base, loy. Let's just turn on to the base. No, it means you don't have 101, but you have 101. You have 100. So what the Mishnah is saying is the kula is that even if you don't have 101 together, even if you don't have 101 of heter, you only have 100 of heter, that would be good enough. Frank the Gemara, it doesn't make sense to say that. Because we do know that the ratio of min b'minoi is l'chomer. So whatever you would need for min b'minoi, you should not be needing for min b'sheinai minoi. Because the Mishnah says b'ferish that by min b'minoi it's l'chomer only, but by min b'sheinai minoi it's l'kula. V'habi the ratio b'meya, we know that the ratio it's bottled in 100. So therefore have a sefer b'shishim. And you can't say that by the sefer of min b'sheinai minoi it's also in 100, Because then what's the kula? Where do we see that the ratio is b'meya? The katani ratio lahachmer min b'minai ketzad. How do you have a case of chomer by min b'minai? Sa'ar shel chitin, if yeast of chitin shenafal le'isa schulin, that fell into an isa of chitin, so it's min b'minai, and the sa'ar is truma, and the isa is chulin. V'yesh boy kedei lechametz, and there's enough sa'ar that could impact the entire dough to make it chametz. Bein yesh boy kedei lahalish b'mei of echad, bein ein boy kedei lahalish b'mei of echad. Whether you have 101 or not, it's going to be awesome. Ein loy lahalish b'mei of echad. Let's say you don't have 100 connected. So bein sheyesh boy kedei lachametz, bein ein boy kedei lachametz, it will still be awesome. Zokt Rashi, very ein boy echad u'mei. Zokt Rashi, afilu ein boy kedei lachametz. Even if there was not enough to be mechametz to dough, if you didn't have 101, it would still be awesome. That is precisely the chumrah that min b'minai has over min b'she'ena minai. That even if it's ein boy kedei lachametz, it'd still be awesome if you don't have echad u'mei. Sak Rashi, da b'min b'she'ena minai amru. By min b'she'ena minai we said ki lekatayma, if there's no taste, loy boy kufalef. You don't need 101. V'hacha ba'inen kufalef, and here you would need 101. Alma, you see, v'hadika chamar mina, something that's more chomer than min b'she'ena minai. Yi'ika kuf aleph shari. If it has 101 inclusive of the iser, it's a mutter. Because akadaitach b'kuf aleph b'hadei isur ka'alma. Alma b'mei bottle. So you see, even 1 in 100 is going to be bottled by min b'minai. So oibazoi, you can't say that by min b'she'ena minai, 1 to 100 is bottled, because that's the same thing as min b'minai. We need to show that it's more kuladik than min b'minai. Zakt Gemara, Reisha v'seifa b'meya. You can't say side the Reisha and side the seifa has the same bittul, 1 to 100, because then there is no kula that we see by min b'she'ena minai. And for the Gemara, like Reisha b'meya v'chad v'seifa b'meya. By min b'minai, you need 101 plus the iser. That's when it would be possible. But by min b'she'ena minai, you only need 100 plus the iser. And that's the kula. The kula is instead of needing 101 of heter connected the iser, you only need 100. If there's enough yeast in there to make it chametz, I don't understand. If you have 101, the Mishnah says, even if you have 101, it will not be bottled. Why not? You have 101. Ishtik. So, Zokt Rashi, he was quiet. Rav Dimi was quiet. He didn't have an answer. Omer lay. So Abaya told Rav Dimi back, Dilma shani sa'or de chimutze kosher. Maybe sa'or, it's like an enzyme that has an impact on much, much greater amounts of dough, because it has the power to be mechametz a lot. And maybe that doesn't follow the normal rules of bittul, involved that has a huge impact. Therefore, it'll Assur even if it's yesh boy kedei lahalois b'mei v'echad. Omar lei, Rabbi said, Dilma shani or the chibutze katzim. Omar Ravina told her back, you know what? Now you're right. You reminded me of something. At Karton Milson, the Omar Rabbi Yosy bar Chadi, you just reminded me of something that Rabbi Yosy bar Chadi taught me. And this is what he taught me. Not all shiurim are the same. Sometimes you need way more than 60 or 100 because of the strength of the iser. For instance, sharei tzir. Tzir is the moisture that comes out of fish. When you cook fish in water, it's that juice. Shi'urei karev l'masai. You need almost 200 to be mevatlet. It's non-bilent. A dog that tell me Tzira Assur, it's Tzira's Assur. And your Yehuda Omer, you know how much you need to be Mavaklet? Revius b'sasayim. Even if you had a Revius in Sasayim, even if you had Revius in 2 saw, which actually is the fraction of a little bit less than 1 to 200, it would still be awesome. So you see that there are certain substances that are so potent, or they have such a strength to infuse taste or impact into other items, like Seer or like Issaor and Isa, that it won't be bottled even by Messiah via. Frank Gemara, Bechlal, how could Seer of a dog tummy, Assur Seer of a dog Tahar, how can you say it is bottle? So how can you say it's bottle? Even if you have 200 connected it, it's a min b'minoi. It's never bottle. The Gemara is shining Seer to Zayavah. Seer isn't really from the mamoshes of the fish. Seer is just water that you cooked fish in. It took some flavor, but there's no real mitzias, mamoshes, of any type of dak tummy there. That's why we'll be makel once there's no taste left. Zok tehelig Gemara vayt. Ketzad misharina. The Mishnah asked us, how do you assess if the gid anash is big enough to impact the meat? Heritage, you look at the gid like it's basar, you look at the meat like it's lefes, and if there's enough meat to put a taste into the lefes, then there would be enough gid to put a taste into the yerech, and it would be us. Amar Abuna, kibasar berosha liftis. We're talking about the heads of the liftais. Rashi says the head of the liftais are sweeter than the tail of the liftais, the bottom. And therefore, the tama basar would be nikar biznovas alefes b'shermuot. So we're saying berosha liftais, which has a stronger flavor to it, and it's more resistant to absorbing flavor from the meat around it. That's a kula, because we're saying you would need more gid versus basar yerech to asr. The Mishnah that says that gid anashim will put tam into the area around it, and therefore asr will not be consistent with the following tam. The Tanya Rab Shmuel benoy shel Rab Yochanan ben Beroika Omer ein begitten benoy tam. Didn't have no tam at all, so they surely would not asr anything near it. Someone came to Rab Chanina to ask him a shayla. He cooked a yerech with the giranasha, and now he wants to know if he has to throw out the whole yerech. Yosy Rabbi Yehuda bar Zvina above. And Rabbi Yehuda bar Zvina was sitting outside the home of Rab Chanina. I guess he wanted to hear the piskei halacha that would come out of Rab Chanina's home. He noted when the petitioner came out from Rab Chanina's home, Rabbi Yehuda asked him, "My amrulach, what did the rabbi tell you? Is it mutter or is it also?" He told Rabbi Yehuda, "Sure, the hell." He said it's mutter. He says there's no issue. I don't have to throw out the yerech. I can eat it. Omer Lei, so Rabbi Yehuda said, "Go ask him again. Go again and ask the same question. I want to be sure that he actually holds that I begin the nice and town." So when he went back in, Rabbi Chanina saw something's going on over here. And he asked this petitioner, "Why are you coming back to me?" Amar, man high the comment entirely. Who's trying to bother me? Because he stopped right away. That Rabbi Yehuda was outside, sending him in again. Zil Aimalei, you could go tell the fellow outside, meaning Rabbi Yehuda. Zil Aimalei Leman the Yosef Abava, the person sitting outside by the gate, Ain begin b'nois and tam. And therefore Gittin will not answer. He also lekamei the Rab Ami, Mishter Lahu, lekamei the Rab Yitzchak, Ben Cholov. Rab Ami held yesh begin b'nois and tam. So he would have had to answer, and he didn't want to answer and cause such a great loss of money for the person asking. So he sent this fellow and told him, "I'm not answering your shaila," but he sent it to Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Cholov, who he knew would be Bekel, and Rabbi Ami didn't hold of this heter, but he wanted the ender to get a heter, so he told him to ask somebody else whom he knew would be mater. There's no tam in the gid, and therefore if you cook a gid with the yerech will be mutter because it doesn't absorb any tam. Zakbar git hanasha shenis basha. The Mishnah says if you cook one git with many other gittin, it's going to be Assur. They're all Assur. Why? Believe till Baruka. Don't you say it's bottle, right? Isn't that the halacha that one is bottle too? So you're right. That's normal cases. But beria shiny. When you're talking about a beria, a separate creation, like the giranasha, it's a davar chashuv, and a davar chashuv will not be bottled. We'll just turn over to Omid for 1 second. Beria shiny zakta gemara, and it will not be bottled. And that's why we're going to say that it's going to be awesome. Rashi Toysa says very shiny. I feel about elef loy bottle. Berry is not even bottle in 1,000. So Toysa v'chein chatika haru'uya liskabed loy bottle. So too a prominent piece of meat would not be bottled. Kida amar hacha, like the Gemara is going to say over here soon. V'hecha the parish chad minayu nami also. What if you don't have all the git there? One git was missing. Could you say that the git was missing was the one that's usher? No, you can't. Toysa. Shema yikach mina kavua, because we're afraid you're going to take one away. Kiven she'edan is a nicker, since you can't tell the fish is loyal. However, Zoktosis, the davar she'enei loy beria, but loy chaticha ruilis chabit, that would be bottle right. I feel isimid rabbanon leka. There wouldn't even be an isimid rabbanon if you have iser and heter, even 2 to 1, 2 heter to 1 iser, it's going to be mutter, and there's no iser even with rabbanon. Kedamash mahacha. Muse of Toisus, Muse Shem Alachad Gavar Hayaser. You have one tray for the hot dog, you have 2 kosher hot dogs, and you don't know which is which. Even though you'll say it's mutter, but we wouldn't allow one person to eat all 3, because in these vada eating Isser, we would only let one person eat 2. And this way, we could be sayich that he ate from the right, which was heter. Baruch Hashem, we were sayich to finish the tzaddik test. And Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, we will learn the daf kuf.